guys, so today we're talking about the best-selling cards in all of Yu-Gi-Oh! Right now. I already talked about a good amount of like the ultra and secret rare penny stocks from Photon Hypernova, and I've talked about some of these cards here too. If you guys haven't checked out like the penny stock market watch playlist, make sure you guys go ahead and do that because there's a lot of like really good penny stocks that ended up taking off to the moon from there. Um, and the thing is with Yu-Gi-Oh cards that are penny stocks, like the biggest issue with regular penny stocks, like companies, is they could go bankrupt, right? That's not these cards are never going to be worth $0, right? They're always going to be worth at least something. So there's always potential there. What is this thing? Why is this thing the best selling? During your main phase, you can special summon this card, then you're going to negate the effects face up monster your opponent controls. Up to the number of continuous traps you control. Shout out to Eldritch support. Yeah, that's cool. I don't know. Does Eldritch run this card now? I have no idea what Eldritch looks like. Is this a good Karibo, or is this just really popular because it's Galaxy Eyes Karibo card? Can we get a Karibo for every archetype then? If we're just going to do Galaxy Karibo? Let's get a Fire King Karibo. Salmon Gray Karibo? Now we're talking. A lot of these cards we talked about a little bit last week. I'm trying to talk about like different, like you target one of your special Synchro monsters. If this card sent to the graveyard is synchro material, you target cards you put up to the number of monsters used. Interesting. Banish them. Interesting. Interesting. How do we use this, though? Because it is a tuner. So we really can only use this reactively. It's not like if it had like a Yang Zing or a Krishan effect, where we could summon it during our opponent's turn, like synchro summon during our opponent's turn, that would be really big and impactful. Because our opponent could like play 2 cards, and then we could synchro summon, make a cool synchro monster, like a Borrowed Salvage Dragon. I think you need Dark Tuner for that. Like a Stardust Dragon, what's called that. And banish 2 cards. But this isn't bad though. Going second, this isn't bad. And like for 50 cents, you could get all copies of these from Pro Play Games for $6.37. Like I don't. Feels free to me. Like that feels fine. Like I don't really see the issue with doing all that. Oh, I'm on secret rares. I was like, what happened here? That is interesting though. Looking at actually, I kind of want to put that back up. Wait, actually put that back up. What were the best selling secret rares? I did that on accident. I think they're all from Photon Hypernova too, right? Yep, yep. What's this? Wait, I think we looked at this last week, right? If you put 2 more, if your opponent controls 2 or more monsters than you do, your opponent must send monsters they control, so they only control 1. Yeah, that's pretty neat, pretty nifty, especially for like Labyrinth, for example, because it's a searchable trap card. Labyrinth's just one of the best decks in the format, for being honest. Okay, I changed my mind. I don't want it to just be secret rares anymore. But this is interesting. A lot of chase cards are relatively cheap. This card you can add a rich. I figured it was both. Yeah, I figured it was both. I don't know if does this card see play? Like, is this card good? Because it feels like in a ritual based deck we do like Cyber Angel, for example. Like one of the best openings for Cyber Angel, like specific, even though Cyber Angel is usually just like an engine that gets thrown into like Drytron or something like that. Like in pure Cyber Angels, one of the best openings is like tribute Ben 10 for Idaten, search, and then you can tribute the Idaten to summon this card out. 1400 and 1000, same stats as the other 1000 hands, are not very good. But a lot of ritual based decks like Necros, Drytron, Gishki, Gishki kind of uses his normal summon. But for the most part, they don't use their normal summon, so maybe this card could be good. But probably not. But 25 cents. That's why I like talking about like the penny stocks. Like for 25 cents, you could buy 10 for $2.50. You know, like you can't even. That's not even a gallon of gas where I'm at. Like, I don't know. Play it in your Dogmatica ritual deck. What is this thing? Cannot be ritual summoned except by Dogmatic Calamity. Or another Dogmatica card effect. Dogmatica monsters you control are unaffected by the activated effects of your opponent's Fusion, Synchro, Xyz, and Link monsters. During your main phase, you can make your opponent choose and apply one of these effects. For every 2 cards in your extra deck, send 1 card from your hand or extra deck to the graveyard. Pretty good. Return all of those monsters you control. So you make your opponent do one of these 2 things. So if they don't have at least, for every 2 cards in your extra deck, send 1 card from your hand. When would they ever choose a second thing? But 4K, 4K, like 4K, 4K, and unaffected is a really good mixture. But I will say, right now is probably not the best time to run a card like that, or like a deck around a card like that, because a lot of people are citing it. Like Book of Eclipse outs that card. Lava Golem outs that card. Sphere Mode outs that card. So it's just Book of Lunar Eclipse outs that card. Like it's just unfortunate, but like unaffected by every extra deck summoning type monster is just not really that good. But that seems cool. How we feel about this being 1274? Comes out this week. Pre-sale game is interesting. I wonder if there's any individual cards that are out. Evenly matched at $4 feels really good. Evenly matched is really popular right now. Let me see. All versions of evenly matched are below their market rate. How are we feeling about Circuit Break? Circuit Break's not even. Let's do. It is best selling. Magnificent Maven's evenly matched is best selling. Probably just because it's the newest. Let's take a look at this. Because there's only 23 copies of this available, or 23 listings. Excuse me. Yeah, and nobody has a lot. Nobody has a lot of these at all. Interesting. What was that at the top there? Light plays. I never know what to do with light plays. What do you guys do? Let me know in the comments down below. Do you guys trust light play? Because I feel like one man's light play is another man's mod play is another man's near mint. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. Or wool man's. You know what I mean? I don't judge. Let's go here though to number 3. So they're ready here. It goes up pretty fast. Would not be hard to make this a $30 card. Obviously the reprint's coming out soon. Me personally, I wouldn't get this. But like I always say, spend your money how you feel. When we look at this though, pre-sales, I feel like this is good. It's risky though. The pre-sale game is very, very risky. Um, IPOs. If everybody's familiar with IPOs and stocks, it's a very similar thing. IPO price is usually like $30 or something like that. It could be like 2 days go by, company's worth $15 a share. 2 days go by, it's worth $45 a share. And that's just an example, but it usually does swing that much. And it does usually swing that much for the pre-sale market. Now, this is in a structure deck. But when we look at like a structure deck that just came out and had a very impactful card in it, this is $6 for damaged. And this just came out, right? Like, realistically, I mean, if you want Korean ones, you can spend 8. This is a $10 card. And we look at the structured deck, Cyber Strike. This is real. I mean, fusion deployment's kind of been ran a lot here or there in branded. This is turning out to be a really good structure deck. Now, if we take a look to see what the value is, the value on this is about 15. And the thing is with evenly matched right now, I know evenly matched was in that video I was talking about the worst good cards. But my thing is with evenly matched right now. There are very few cards that just truly body Kashtira like evenly matched. Um, and the thing is too with Labyrinth being so popular, a lot of people maybe are interested in that deck. Spent a lot of money on the Labyrinth cards, and we're debating on either getting evenly matched like from Magnificent Mavens or the secret rare we were just looking at, the 2018 Megatons version, or waiting for the structure deck version to come out. I just feel like in a week, this could be worth $6. In a year, it could be worth 10. Um, Evenly matched, the thing is too though, is also really good against Labyrinth and like Runic, for example. Does Runic have trap negation? Does that come up often? Like I don't know. I think they do. I think they're right. I don't know. I haven't played the I haven't played evenly matched into Runic very often, but that's the thing. A lot of people see evenly matched as a card that's really good against like your opponent's got all five of their monster zones filled up. It's actually really good. I actually personally prefer evenly matched against a deck like Labyrinth or a deck like Runic. Decks that are more stun based and have a tougher time of rebuilding that board, right? You use evenly matched to break a Kashtira board. Your opponent, let's say they got three cards in their hand, you use evenly matched to break their board. They still have their best monster on the field, and you still have to deal with that form of disruption, right? You still have to deal with basically the macrocosmos, assuming the card that they pick if they get evenly matched. And so you wasted your battle phase. You have five cards in hand. You got to play through the macro. You end on like a pretty decent board, and then you do out the macro with one of your cards, and eventually you keep going. Your opponent draws a card for turn. They got four cards, and they can easily break the board because they're playing Kashtira, right? In that situation, but usually decks like Labyrinth's a little bit different of a stun deck. Labyrinth has a lot of potency for a stun deck, but usually with decks like Labyrinth or any other stun deck, they have a tough time rebuilding that board. So long story short, evenly match is really good against those decks that swarm the field, like Kashtira to an extent kind of does that. Sprite's another one. But it's also really good against stun decks. And stun decks are getting really popular. So this is just something that's interesting. Searchable off of Triple Tactics Thrust, searchable off of Trap Trick. Um, so it's just something to keep in mind. And then the fact, obviously, that you can play it from your hand is pretty cool too. And I just feel like for $5, that's a really good buy for evenly matched. But if we go back, that's obviously the chase card here. Um, Ash Blossom's in here as well. I forgot Ash Blossom was in here as well. So this is another one. I am I'm one of the biggest fans of structure decks. Harpy's Feather Duster's in here. All the trap hole cards are in here. Artifact Sanctum is another really good reprint. I could very easily see the structure deck being worth $15 in 6 months and $20 in a year, to be honest. There's a lot of really solid reprints in there, and the Traffic archetype is pretty solid as well. Um, Obviously, structure decks aren't perfect. Like the branded structure deck was missing, like branded in red. There was another really good card that it was missing as well. It's always missing something, right? Structure decks are always going to be missing something. But they've gotten really good, and they have gone up as far as price is concerned, but they have also gone up in value. I always get 3 copies of every structure deck whenever it comes out, not only to have an archetype to mess around with, but also because it's just almost always free value. And I think at 12.74, if you can go to your Walmarts, your Targets, your Myers, um, and get it for $10 or 11, go ahead. But I think $13 is actually a really reasonable price for the value that's in the Beware of Trap Tricks structure deck. We're still on Photon Hypernova. I wouldn't spend $80 on a box. Just an FYI. 1 for 1 at 35 cents doesn't feel terrible. It's a good card. I don't think it's ever going to come back at more than one, though, so I wouldn't get multiples of it. Probably not the greatest card to buy. This is an underrated card, but 5 cents. Now we're going to spend too much time talking about it. Yeah, I think that the market is actually in a really good spot. I don't think you need this card. Other than Kashtira, a lot of archetypes are relatively decent to get. Let's actually take a look at some of the best decks and what they might cost real quick. How do you spell Labyrinth? That's not it. That is not how you spell Labyrinth. Um, I zoomed in a bit there. Labyrinth. Labyrinth. Labyrinth deck. Yugioh. spelled it wrong. That's okay. $300. Really not bad. If this is correct, I don't know what the deck like what like the best deck is. It looks like 3 copies of all the cards though. So $300 for a relatively solid meta deck is really not that bad. The deck core, I think it's like two of. It looks like two of a lot of cards for 115. This might not be that terrible either. Let's take a look at this one though. This one's interesting because of the Baron reprint that's coming out soon. Um, tournament ready Sword Soul deck for 340 nib, one nib. That's common Veilers. This is a secret Ash. Baron. This is not worth. No offense to whoever this. Like this isn't me. Like I don't know who's selling this. They have like higher rarity cards. Mystic Mind's in here for some reason. Like Forbidden Droplets. Like higher rarity Forbidden Droplets. So it might be worth 340, but this deck is not better than Labyrinth. So I wouldn't spend more on that deck. If you're gonna get Sword Soul, I would get like this, and then get your Barons, right? Just spend 80 on that, but you do have to get the Tenny stuff as well. Let's take a look at this. This is wild though, because Branded has a lot of different paths that you could take to get it. Let me check before we go too crazy into Branded what this card is at, because this card feels like it's all over the place all the time. Guardian Chimera, $40 isn't terrible, right? Like I know it's up over the last 3 months, but it is still down from what it used to be when Branded was at its peak. But it's mostly because Branded is kind of back. Um, there's a lot of interesting things you can do with this. A lot of interesting things you can do. And because they were in a structure deck, it's very cheap for the most part. What in the world is this? Oh, is this Speed Duel? We're not talking about. This is the new Speed Duel stuff. We might talk about that enough when it comes out. Is this the new Speed Duel stuff? Is this the old Speed Duel stuff? That's the old Speed Duel stuff. So there's not a lot of branded decks, what I'm saying. But like, okay, let's take a look at this real quick for $40. You can get some like Despian stuff. The field spell, but no branded in red. I didn't see branded red. That's what I was looking for. I was looking for branded in red. I couldn't find it. Like a deck that included branded in red. And if you're wondering, this one does. If you're wondering why I'm on eBay, I've just had issues with TCG player in the past, and I have a tough time too, like getting a full archetype from like one seller. I feel like if you can get a full archetype or every card that you want in every quantity that you want from someone on TCG Player, you should do it because TCG Player usually is cheaper. But in my experience, getting deck cores and full decks, it's easier on eBay. Now this has branded in red, branded opening, good amount of Despia stuff. I don't see the field spell as well. This could be decent for $90. And like I said, there's a lot of different paths you can take with the branded deck. So, you can go more budget friendly and still be relatively effective. For the last one I wanted to look at, because we know Cashier is Cashier, right? Is Ninja. Because Jesse Cotton was playing this. See, my thing is though with Ninja, I don't really know. Like, is this a good deck? Like for $35, it looks good. I think it's missing a lot of its card. Like this looks like an older Ninja deck. Is the Fusion Monster in here at least? I don't see it. No. Right, because it's got a new Fusion Monster. It's got a new Link Monster. Like this seems a little better, but it's like I think it's like one of every ninja card. Right? Is this one of every ninja card? This is interesting. I mean, 2 available, 3 sold because someone just bought a playset of this because they could tell it's just one of every ninja card. Which is smart. So for 120, Ninja's not a terrible archetype. All right, let me look actually at one more. And I think looking at individual cards is I just can never spell. I don't even know why. I try to spell sometimes. I think looking at individual cards is important, but also looking at archetypes are important as well, because you can end up getting some like if you get a good deal, you can get like a randomly good card that's just so happens to be in like a tier elements deck, for example, right? Or like you can just get a deck to mess around with. Like, yeah, collecting these cards and selling these cards is probably why a lot of you are here. But what most people do with Yu-Gi-Oh cards is play with them, right? So getting full deck cores just to have it, like this doesn't look terrible. Um, Dragosopalia, Mud Dragon, Baguska, Sprint. I don't love the extra deck, and you get playsets of everything just for 250 though. And Konami might feel like it overcorrected with tier elements, and it might bring it back. This is 150. I didn't really see tier elements making any waves though over the weekend, so this deck might be super dead. But it's just something to keep in mind as most of the best selling cards in Yu-Gi-Oh right now are penny stocks, right? Because the newest set wasn't really super duper fantastic. Small World is slowly creeping up in price. Just off the rip, real quick, I would pick these up before they get over to $10. If you want a play set, I don't think it's going to go down in value, and I don't see a reprint coming out anytime soon. Like this was the reprint, could very easily be like a $10, $15 card. But overall, Photon Hypernova and the ban list didn't change the format as much as I thought. Like this card, for example, Dino Mondo. Discard special summon, you can target one card in the field, one ritual monster in your graveyard, shuffle both into the deck during your opponent's turn. You contribute this card, then ritual, then target one ritual monster in your graveyard, either add it to your hand or special summon it. Really good card for ritual based archetypes. 2200 attack. It's worth 5 cents, right? Like that's kind of where the market's at right now. So nothing too fun, crazy, and spectacular. But let me know what you guys think. What are the best cards that you are looking out for? Good buys, bad buys. Let me know in the comments down below. Make sure you guys click that like button to show your support for the channel. Subscribe for even more content. But most importantly of all, have a good day.